My sister accused me of assault to steal my inheritance, so I exposed the real father of her son. I'm a 34-year-old man, and until recently, I thought my family's biggest problem was our constant bickering over money. My father passed away last year, and his will was straightforward. The estate, including our family home, and a decent amount of savings, was to be split evenly between me and my younger sister, Laura. It should have been simple, but Laura has always been jealous, manipulative, the type who thrives on drama. At first, she seemed fine with the arrangement, but when she realized Dad had also left me his collection of antique watches, something he and I bonded over for years, she exploded. She screamed that I was stealing what's hers, that Dad always loved me more. I thought it was just another tantrum. I had no idea how far she was willing to go. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a family friend who works in social services. She told me Laura had filed a report against me, accusing me of assaulting her. I almost dropped the phone. She said Laura was claiming I had attacked her during an argument over the inheritance. Suddenly, people were whispering. Relatives stopped answering my calls. My reputation, my job, everything I had built, was hanging by a thread. And that's when I realized something. Laura didn't just want more of the inheritance. She wanted to destroy me completely. But what she didn't know was that she carried a secret of her own. One I had sworn to protect years ago. One that, if exposed, would make her entire world collapse. Because her son, the boy everyone believes was fathered by her ex-husband, wasn't his at all. He was Dad's. When I say I carried Laura's secret for years, I mean it was a weight chained around my neck that I never asked for. I first discovered the truth about her son, Noah, by accident. Back when he was just a toddler, maybe 3 years old, I overheard a fight between Laura and my dad in the garage. Their voices carried through the walls, and the words that slipped out froze me to the core. "I told you he doesn't look like his father," Laura hissed. "If people find out, I'm finished." Dad's voice was low, but sharp. "Keep your mouth shut, and no one will ever know. He's your son, Laura. You take that truth to the grave." At the time, I didn't want to believe it, but the more I looked at Noah, the more obvious it became. His eyes were the same piercing gray as Dad's. The same crooked smile, the same way he tilted his head when he laughed. Noah looked nothing like Laura's ex-husband, Mark, who had always suspected, but never had proof. A year later, I found out the full truth. Laura had been living at home after breaking up with Mark, and one night after too much drinking, she crossed a line with Dad that no one should ever cross. She confessed it to me one night in tears, swearing me to secrecy. She told me Mark thought Noah was his, but she knew deep down who the father really was. I remember feeling sick, like my stomach was being ripped apart from the inside. I should have exposed her then, but I didn't. I told myself I was protecting Noah. That boy didn't deserve to be branded with his mother's shame, so I buried it for years. But now, years later, Laura decided to torch my life. She filed a false assault report, painted me as violent and dangerous, and whispered poison into our relatives' ears. She told everyone I had attacked her over the inheritance, that I was threatening her and Noah, that I wasn't the man they thought I was. Overnight, I went from being the steady older brother to a pariah. Even Mom looked at me differently. She never said it out loud, but I could see it in her eyes. The seed of doubt Laura planted had taken root. My brother-in-law stopped answering my calls. Friends at work heard rumors, and suddenly I was the guy under investigation. One baseless accusation, and everything I had worked for was collapsing. That's when the anger kicked in. I realized Laura wasn't just trying to take more of Dad's estate. She wanted to erase me, to leave me with nothing but shame. And I thought about the secret I had carried for her, the secret that could destroy her completely if I let it out. For weeks, I fought with myself. Exposing her would mean destroying Noah's image of his family, dragging Dad's name through filth, and causing a storm our entire family might never recover from. But then I looked at my life, my job on the line, my reputation ruined, my future slipping through my fingers because of her lies. And in that moment, something inside me snapped. If Laura wanted war, she was going to get war. And I was done protecting the sister, who never hesitated to ruin me. Once I decided to expose Laura, I knew I couldn't do it impulsively. If I just blurted it out in anger, everyone would think I was lashing back because of her accusation. I needed proof, I needed timing, and most of all, I needed an audience. Because the truth about her son wasn't something you whispered in a corner. It was a bomb that had to explode in the middle of the room so no one could deny it. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. Mom organized a family meeting to clear the air about the inheritance and the assault allegations. Laura was the one who insisted on it, clearly confident in her lies. She arrived in tears, clutching Noah's hand like a shield, telling everyone she just wanted peace. I sat there across from her, rage simmering under my skin, watching her spin this performance while our uncles, cousins, even Mom nodded sympathetically. She said I'd screamed at her, that I'd grabbed her by the arm, that she thought I might hit her. She said she was afraid of what I might do next if she didn't stand up for herself. And she wrapped it all in the inheritance story. How Dad's will unfairly favored me, and how she only wanted what was right. The more she talked, the more my stomach turned. She was painting me as some violent, greedy monster, while she stood there playing the victim. When she finished, the room was heavy. Everyone turned to me, waiting for my defense. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw the smirk hiding under her fake tears. That was it. The line. I pulled a folder out of my bag and placed it on the table. Inside were copies of old hospital records and a DNA test. Because before this meeting, I had gone to Noah. He's 13 now, old enough to understand when I told him we needed to check something important for his health. I swabbed my cheek, swabbed his, and sent it off. The results came back exactly as I knew they would, and 99.9% probability matched to our father, not to Mark. The room went dead silent as I slid the papers across the table. You want to accuse me of assault, Laura? I said, my voice shaking but steady enough to cut through the noise. Then let's tell the family the truth you've been hiding for 13 years. Her face drained of color. She lunged for the folder, but my uncle snatched it up before she could. He read, his eyes widening, then handed it to my mother. Gasps, murmurs, whispers filled the room. Laura was stammering, screaming that it was fake, that I made it up. But the dates, the hospital records, the DNA test, it was undeniable. Then I dropped the final blow. Your son isn't Mark's. He's Dad's. Chaos. Absolute chaos. My mother screamed, covering her face. My uncle nearly fell out of his chair. Noah, poor Noah, just sat frozen, his wide eyes darting between his mom and the papers on the table. And Laura. She broke down, sobbing hysterically, denying, confessing, contradicting herself all at once. The truth had finally clawed its way into the light, and there was no putting it back. I stood up, shaking, my heart pounding like it would burst out of my chest. You wanted to ruin me, Laura, but you forgot, I've been holding your ruin in my hands for years. You made me the villain, so now I'll show everyone who the real villain is. And then I walked out. I didn't wait to hear the screaming, the fighting, the collapse of everything. I left the folder on the table, and I left my family with the truth. For the first time in years, I felt free. But freedom didn't come without consequences. Because in exposing her, I hadn't just destroyed Laura. I had lit our entire family on fire. The fallout from that night was worse than anything I could have imagined. I thought exposing Laura would end the lies and put everything back in balance. But instead it was like pulling the pin from a grenade and dropping it right in the middle of my family. For days, my phone didn't stop ringing. Some calls were filled with anger, others with tears. My mother was shattered. She kept replaying every memory of Laura as a teenager, every suspicious moment with Dad, and wondering how she had missed it. She told me through sobs, I feel like my entire marriage was a lie. My uncle told me I should be kept the secret buried, that even if it was true, ripping it open now had destroyed Noah's life. And Noah. God, Noah. That boy had no idea what hit him. The night after the meeting, he sent me a single text, is it true? My hands shook as I typed back, I'm sorry, kid. I didn't want you to find out this way. He didn't reply. The next day, Laura called me screaming that Noah hated her, that he locked himself in his room and wouldn't speak to her. She blamed me for everything, said I had ruined her son's life, just to get revenge. I almost laughed through the guilt. She ruined him the day she chose to lie about who his father was. The family split down the middle. Half of them despised Laura, calling her disgusting, saying she had shamed us all. The other half despised me, saying I was cruel for exposing the secret, that I should be protected Noah even if it meant letting her lies stand. Suddenly, every gathering, every family group chat, every holiday turned into a battlefield. My mom stopped speaking to Laura completely, but she also stopped speaking to me for a while, saying, I just can't look at either of you without feeling sick. Meanwhile, Laura doubled down. She started spreading rumors that the DNA test was fake, that I had manipulated it, that I was obsessed with destroying her because of the inheritance. She told people I had always been jealous of her, that I wanted to see her homeless and broken. But no matter how hard she screamed, no matter how many stories she tried to spin, the truth had already spread. Neighbors whispered about her. Parents at Noah's school avoided her. Even at church, people stared, shaking their heads. The worst was when Mark, her ex-husband, showed up. He'd gotten wind of the truth, and he stormed into her house demanding answers. He called me afterward, his voice shaking with rage. You let me raise that boy for years, thinking he was mine. You knew, and you said nothing. I tried to explain that I hadn't wanted to hurt Noah, that I thought I was protecting him. Mark didn't want to hear it. He said if I had told him earlier, he could have saved himself years of lies, years of thinking he was crazy for doubting. He hung up on me, and I haven't heard from him since. As for Laura, she spiraled. She started showing up at my apartment, pounding on the door, screaming that I had destroyed her life. Once, she brought Noah with her, begging him to tell me he still loved her. The boy just stood there, arms crossed, silent, eyes burning with the kind of hatred no child should ever have to feel. That image will haunt me forever. And me. I Sholvi felt vindicated. I Sholvi felt like I had finally gotten justice after her false accusations. But instead, I felt hollow, because the truth didn't just expose Laura. It tore Noah apart. It tore my mother apart. It turned my family into rubble. But there was no going back. The lie was dead, and the damage was done. The only question left was whether I could live with what I'd done, or whether I had just damned us all beyond repair. Laura's downfall wasn't quick. It was a slow, ugly unraveling that played out in front of everyone. The more she tried to deny the truth, the deeper she sank. At first, she tried doubling down on her lies. She told anyone who would listen that I had fabricated the DNA test, that I had hacked hospital records, that I had some twisted vendetta against her. But the problem was, people already knew Laura's character. They knew she thrived on drama, that she'd always been manipulative. And for once, they didn't believe her. Mark, her ex-husband, took it the hardest. He filed to have Noah's name legally changed, cut off all financial support, and told Laura he wanted nothing to do with her ever again. He didn't even come to Noah's school events anymore. He told people he felt violated for years, and blamed her for wasting his life. And Noah he changed almost overnight. He stopped calling Laura Mom in public. He refused to stay at her house, begging to live with my mother instead. Laura would show up at Mom's doorstep screaming, crying, begging to see him, but Noah wouldn't even come to the door. It broke me to watch. But I knew this was her fault. She had lied to him every single day of his life. She had let him believe he was Mark's son, while burying the truth in shame. And when I exposed it, it wasn't my voice that crushed him. It was the years of her deception finally catching up to her. Socially, she was finished. At church, people avoided her. At the grocery store, I overheard whispers, words like incest, disgusting, ruined. She quit her job after coworkers stopped speaking to her, and she lost most of her friends within weeks. Her social media turned into a wasteland of deleted comments and angry posts. One by one, the people she leaned on vanished. And in her isolation, she became obsessed with me. She started sending me long, rambling messages late at night. Sometimes she begged me to take it back, to tell people I'd lied so she could have her life back. Other times she threatened me, saying I had destroyed her, and she would destroy me too. Once, she even wrote, "If Noah hates me forever, his blood will be on your hands." But the truth was, Noah didn't hate me. If anything, he clung to me. He started asking me questions I wasn't ready to answer. Did Grandpa really? Why didn't anyone tell me sooner? Am I a mistake? Hearing those words from a 13-year-old gutted me. I wanted to tell him he was innocent, that none of this was his fault, that he wasn't a mistake. And I did. But I could see in his eyes that he didn't fully believe me. Meanwhile, my own mental state was spiraling. I thought exposing Laura would set me free, but instead it chained me to a storm I couldn't escape. Family dinners became shouting matches. Holidays were canceled. Half my relatives cut me off entirely, saying I had gone too far. Even my mother, who had stopped speaking to Laura, looked at me differently, like she loved me, but also blamed me for ripping the wound wide open. The inheritance, the whole reason this war started, sat untouched. The money, the watches, the house, none of it mattered anymore, because in trying to defend what was mine, I had burned everything around me. I would sit in that empty house sometimes, surrounded by Dad's things, and feel nothing but bitterness. I didn't want it anymore. I didn't want any of it. And Laura, she didn't stop. Even after losing Noah, even after losing Mark, even after losing her reputation, she still tried to fight me. She filed another report, claiming I had manipulated Noah against her. It was thrown out almost immediately. The judge saw through her lies, but every attempt she made chipped away at me. It was like she couldn't accept that the war was over and she had lost. I had wanted justice. What I got was destruction. Hers, mine, and worst of all, Noah's. And the question that haunted me was this: had I done the right thing, or had I just become as ruthless as she was? The final collapse came in the courtroom. Laura had pushed the limits so far that even the legal system eventually turned on her. After her false assault report against me was officially dismissed, she tried again, this time filing for custody of Noah, claiming my mother and I were poisoning him against her. It was almost laughable, except it wasn't funny at all. It was terrifying. because Noah was already fragile, and dragging him into a courtroom meant he'd have to face the ugliest parts of our family in public. The hearing was brutal. Laura walked in looking gaunt, her hair unkempt, her voice shrill and desperate. She painted herself as the loving mother robbed of her child by a manipulative brother out for revenge. Her lawyer tried to discredit the DNA results, saying they were tampered with, that my evidence was fueled by greed over the inheritance. But when Noah was brought in to testify, it all unraveled. The judge asked him where he wanted to live. Noah, voice trembling but steady, said, "Not with her." He looked directly at Laura and repeated it. "I don't trust her anymore. She lied to me about everything. I want to live with Grandma." The courtroom went silent. Laura broke down screaming, had to be escorted out when she started clawing at her own arms, shouting that everyone was against her. The ruling was clear. Custody transferred to my mother. Laura was granted supervised visits, but Noah refused them all. That day, I thought I'd feel relief, but what I felt was emptiness. Watching Laura escorted out of the courtroom, sobbing, her entire life in ruins, didn't make me happy. It made me sick, because no matter how much she had hurt me, she was still my sister. And now, she was nothing more than a ghost, ostracized, hated, alone. After that, her spiral accelerated. She lost her apartment when she couldn't pay rent. She moved in with a distant cousin, only to be kicked out weeks later after another fight. People stopped answering her calls. Her own son wouldn't see her. Last I heard, she was bouncing between cheap motels and old friends, who still pitied her enough to lend a couch for a few nights. And me. I was left standing in the wreckage. The inheritance sat untouched. The house was cold and silent, filled with Dad's belongings I no longer wanted. Every time I looked at his watch collection, I felt sick, knowing what he had done, knowing the bloodline he left behind. Sometimes I'd catch myself staring at Noah, seeing my father's smile on his face, and my stomach would twist. I loved that boy like a nephew, but the truth had tainted even that. Family gatherings are gone. Birthdays, holidays, traditions, all burned. Half my relatives don't speak to me. Some say I was right, others say I was cruel. My mother barely speaks about it at all. She just drifts through her days like a ghost. Her marriage, her family, her daughter all shattered in one blow. And Noah, he's quiet now. Too quiet. He's only 13, but sometimes when I look at him, I see the weight of a grown man on his shoulders. He doesn't laugh the way he used to. He doesn't trust easily. I try to be there for him, but deep down I know I can't erase what I expose. I tore off the mask, and now he has to live with the scars. At night, I wonder if I did the right thing. I defended myself. Yes, I stopped Laura from destroying me, but in doing so, I destroyed her. And I destroyed the illusion Noah grew up with. Maybe this was justice. Maybe this was inevitable. Or maybe, in trying to save myself, I doomed us all. And the worst part, I'll never know the answer. I don't know what to do anymore. Follow me for more stories.